Okay.
Hi, everyone. I am Lorianne. I am that gal from Milton, Ontario, Canada, and I am with.
I am that guy. I am Roy Miller from Dallas, Texas. Welcome to our Lift Your Story podcast.
So today we're really pleased to have Craig Handley here. There's so much to say about him. I think there's like from being a comedian to being an author, being a musician, but the author part of it I really was interested in because I love the name of the book, Hired to Quit. So really happy to have you here today and to learn more about you, Craig. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, glad to be here.
Well, Craig, I've got to ask you, how did you come up with the title of your book?
Kind of ties into, I talk about comedian and musician. And when I was a kid, I got accepted to Berkeley for music, and I didn't have the money to go. And I was, I ended up building a big call center with almost 1,000 employees. And I was training them on how to do sales, but so many of my employees were there, and it was a hard sell for me to say, oh, this is an amazing job. This is what you should be doing the rest of your life. And the reality is, it's not. Most people didn't grow up wanting to be a call center agent. And so I just had the idea that I would start to train people and inspire people to live their own passions and their own dreams. And so that's what I did for a couple of days. But when we'd hire them, I'd literally train them on how to quit by having them go through exercises of what are their big life goals, what are the things they want to achieve in their life. And then we would create like master classes in order for them to, learn about the different things that they should be doing. So one guy was a lawyer taking phone calls, and we taught him how to do a podcast. He started interviewing other lawyers in the city that he was in, and he'd ask them all one question: where do you think is the most underserved market, in this city for legal? And about 6 months into this, he had great relationships with almost every law firm in the city, and he knew where the holes were. So he opened a law firm, which covered the hole that everybody said was missing in the city. And he built a successful law firm in weeks. All the other lawyers that he had interviewed referred business to him. And I started having all these stories come out of the training that we were doing. And so that's where kind of Hired to Quit kind of came from, is I just started working with people and helping them live their own dreams. And the reality is, most people have simple dreams. They want a home, they want a car, they want a vacation, and those people really love their jobs. So our turnover rate went way down because we were helping people to accomplish even those little dreams, of having a car and a house. But our turnover went down, and the people that wanted to leave or should leave started to find ways they could leave and have a better life.
Wow.
Fantastic. So in your training, would that have inspired people to enjoy their job better?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we have a list of things people want, and we show them, for example, if you do a good job for a client campaign, we pay bonuses. And if you want to go on vacation with your family, you can get a bonus that can pay for that. If you want a car, in Mexico, where our call center is, the length of time you're employed with someone works like credit. So we went to the banks and created case studies where our employees make above average income. And, so we've been in business 14 years. And so we said, okay, these are our employees. What we'd like to do is we'd like to pay them. We'd like for you, the bank, to give our employees a preferred interest rate loan for a vehicle once they've been here for a certain amount of time. What is that time? And the bank said 6 months. So anybody who works with us for 6 months can get a car loan. Then we did the same thing with houses. After a year, you can get a house loan working at Listen Trust. And so people who have kind of simple things, vacations are the other one. And I'm working with an agency now that owns a bunch of property all throughout Mexico: Cabo, Cancun, Tulum. And they have properties that are off the beach, on the beach. And so what I've done is I've created a level of travel where, as an employee, at the end of your first year, you get a vacation at level 1, a vacation at level 2, a vacation at level 3, and it's you don't get money. You don't have you don't have the option to take money. You don't have to take your vacation, but it's there for you. And most people, of course, take it because those are the top 3 things that I found that people want. Is they want a car, a house, and they want to be able to take their family on vacation every year, and they don't save enough money to do it unless their employer does it for them.
So are you in Mexico now?
Yeah. I actually just drove down here yesterday. I was in Costa Rica for a week. Then I was in Miami for a few days. I was in LA for a week working on my music stuff. And then I went to Phoenix, and now I drove from Phoenix down here to Mexico. It's been a whirlwind couple of weeks.
So what kind of music do you play?
I want to say it's like pop, it's with a little bit of an EDM vibe. I mean, I can write anything. I interview authors, and I turn the interview into a jingle. I call that part of my music side executive raps. And I'm working on building out a site that'll house hundreds of these musical songs. I actually wrote one for my book. It sold a lot of books. And I've done some for others. I do jingles. So if someone's got a brand, I work as an affiliate, and I can write a jingle that can get a lower cost per acquisition than most people can. So I usually can make some really good margin on that. And then I like to write, the real stuff, and I guess it's all real, but, stuff for sync placement for movies, TVs, films. So I've got a lot of that music too. So music is my biggest passion. I've been a really good entrepreneur. I do a good job coaching. I understand the turnaround game, and I know how to build a business. I built one in the last 90 days that went from 0 to almost 700,000 in revenue and almost 50 clients in the last 90 days during this pandemic. And it's all helping authors do book launches. I have a team. They do one-on-one reach outs through LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook, and we post content through different groups. And in a month's time, I'm able to, there was one case where in 2 days I sold 3,000 books. I sold 8,000 books in 2 weeks for another woman. I just did a book launch with Kevin Harrington from Shark Tank, and we helped him make the USA Today and the Wall Street Journal bestsellers lists. I've done some really good book launches, and everybody's profitable. With my book launch is something that all the independent publishers say, well, the one thing you have to do is the social close book launch with Craig, and everything else you should look at. But my piece is the one piece nobody should be doing without. So,
well, it's interesting you say that, because Lori Ann and I are working on a book. So
no kidding.
We may reach out to you.
It works better than I would have imagined. I basically help create content. You guys actually do video content along with some pictures, and we send things out to people one-on-one and ask for their help. It's almost like signing up micro affiliates, so we ask people to buy the book, and we ask them to share the content. And we do this with a few thousand people a day.
Wow.
And by the end of a couple of weeks, we've created, quite it's just kind of, it kind of goes like this, and then it goes, and
we're looking for the woof.
We have 12
I've been looking for
book
the book
launches
for years though. Remember, I wrote my book 30 years ago, My Happy. I've got a cartoon character. It's just, that was a hard time though. Don't forget back then. 30 years ago, you were going to publishers, and then, finally 10 years ago, or I guess maybe about 12 years ago, I self-published him. But there was really it was back then, 12 years ago, even, that they didn't understand the concept of internet marketing really to the extent that we do now.
I've combined social media and call center is kind of the concept.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, I know, looking at some of your stuff on Facebook, that you're a dad.
Yep.
And it looks like you're a pretty awesome dad from what I can see.
I try. It's difficult, but it's funny because I try to inspire my kids to do their own thing and live their own passion the same way. And my kids I try to put them in touch with the right people to help them, and they don't take action. And if I help anybody else's kids, they're like, oh my God, thank you. My kids think I'm being a pain in the ass. They're like, oh, Dad, why are you, pushing me to talk to this guy? I'm like, because he can help you do what you want. Tell me you love to do.
Yeah.
So I do my best,
It's funny. You can tell your kid something and they'll, yeah, okay, whatever. And then somebody else will tell them 5 minutes later the same thing. And they're like, oh, really? Wow, that's awesome. And you go, well, I just told you that. They seem like they relate more to someone else. I guess it's just that parent-child, deal. I don't know, but it's funny.
Right.
It's pretty common.
It is true. I have the same thing. I could talk. I mean, my daughter was on TV when she was 10 years old with a campaign called Smiling Toronto, and she took acting lessons, everything. But when she got to a certain age, it was like, Mom, I don't want anything to do with anymore, because they feel they can do it on their own. But it helps, you just do. It's like Roy said, you can tell them, but their, friends will tell them, and it's a lot more important.
Yeah.
I'm curious about the comedy too.
Well, I had this, I've written a lot of music and comedy music, and a friend of mine, I was doing more speaking, and a friend of mine said, you should work with a comedian. It definitely helps you with your speaking. And so I worked with a comedian. I ended up doing a stand-up routine at Caroline's on Broadway in New York City. And I did a 25-minute set my first time ever, on the stage. And I did 5 original songs and some stand-up. And so, I don't know, I think I'm pretty funny. I write a lot of comedy music. And I've been advised that maybe with my business persona, I should change my name on the comedy circuit to something else. They're like, how can people take somebody seriously when you write that crap? They said, you'll probably never be in a room with Beyonce if you keep your comedy associated with your name. So I'm like, oh, well, maybe I'll change my comedy name.
Well, I mean, I would think 25 minutes would be a huge length of time for somebody at their first time. I mean, I could see it'd be hard for 5 minutes, I would think, your first time. But 25 minutes, I mean, that seemed like it was 25 days to you when you were doing it.
It was definitely more nerve-wracking than anything else I've ever done. I mean, I opened for Coolio at the Cow Palace in San Francisco in front of 15,000 people, and I wasn't really nervous. But the thing about comedy, and when I do speaking, I know the material so well that I don't really need a script. I just get up there and talk. Mm-hmm. But comedy, and this is part of learning how to be a better speaker, comedy is punchline, 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 punchline. You don't want to have idle chit chat. You want to go punchline, punchline. And if you forget a punchline and you set it up to get into the punchline and you forget it, well, there is no joke, right? I mean, it's so easy to fall on your face as a comedian that it was scary, I did one of my songs, and it's like a love song, and then it goes into this dirty rap. And there was a woman at the front table in front of me, and she literally, when I started to do this rap, she went, oh, and she knocked all the drinks on the table onto the floor, and I lost my place. I was like, I found it again. But it's like anything, if you lose your place or you lose a joke, then you've lost the joke. So I thought stand-up was one of the toughest things I've ever done.
Well, I saw a video biography of Jeff Foxworthy. He was kind of talking about his start and how he got to where he was. And he said that when he went on the Johnny Carson show for the first time, they told him, look, you come out, you stand on this X, you've got 5 minutes, not 4 minutes and 45 seconds, not 5 minutes. You got 5 minutes. You've got to be there for 5 minutes, no less, no more. He said he was so nervous. He says he was doing his routine and they had a countdown timer there. He was watching that, and he said, luckily he finished at the 5 minute mark. So, and he said that was really nerve wracking, trying to maintain what you're saying, watching the clock, and make sure you do exactly your 5 minutes. So, yeah.
It's interesting for sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
I ran through it a few times, and I was right at 25 minutes, and I think when I was on stage, I finished in like 23, 22, because I know I was a little bit nervous and going a little faster. And then I realized I forgot to say this, but I did okay. You know, I'm proud I did it, and I will probably do more of it, but we'll see.
Can anybody see any of your comedy? Do you have it up somewhere
Yeah,
that
the
you can
whole
take a look at,
25
please?
minutes is on my YouTube channel, on Craig Handley on my YouTube.
Okay.
Perfect.
It hasn't been censored off.
My comedy's there. I also have some of the comedy songs I did. When I got off the stage, somebody from Amazon Prime approached me and said if I built it out to an hour that they'd be interested in buying it. And so I basically took some of the funny songs I wrote and started creating music videos. Because when I watch Adam Sandler and some of these good comedians, what happens with all of them is, with all these comedians, is they have the video playing in the background. And so I started creating funny videos that I could play in the background. So when I do the stand-up again, if I recorded it, maybe I could create a product to sell. But with COVID, everything kind of got slowed down.
Yeah. So since you're in video, do you do TikTok?
I have a TikTok account. I haven't done a lot with it yet. I have a son who has over 1.2 million followers.
Wow.
So he makes money on TikTok, and he's got over 3 million followers. When you combine his TikTok with his Reels, with his Instagram, with his the new one's Triller is a new one that kids are starting to come up on, and he actually just interviewed me and put this whole interview series together with him on TikTok, but I haven't done a lot with it yet, so I focus on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook is kind of the primary three.
Lorianne can tell you about Lyft.
Yeah, that's what we do. Why we call it Lift Your Story, there's two reasons for it. Well, one, we want to know more about you. So we lift your story, but it's also something that I put in my book that's just come out, co-authored. Actually, Roy is in it as well, collaborated in it, called Makeup Not Required, How to Brand the True You. But one of the things I came up with is Lift. So it's LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Lift your story.
Ah, good.
Yeah.
I haven't done a lot on Twitter, and I don't know if Twitter's gonna really blow up again or where it is. I think it's pretty consistent, but
yeah, consistent. And there's people who still love Twitter way over Instagram, and so you catch for a lot of them. Yeah, and then Google too, of course. But those are the main ones. The Lift makes it easy to remember. That's all. I mean, if you add any other ones on there, TikTok and everything, it just doesn't make Lift anymore, right?
Yeah, really good analogy.
Yeah.
So are you working on any new projects that up and coming?
Well, the one where I started, again, this business, Social Close, I built it for me. I built it to help my own presence online. And then I had a couple people ask if we could try it. And I said, sure. And that's the one that went from 0 to 50 clients in the last 90 days. I mean, that's a big project. So that's been keeping me fairly busy. That's been keeping me pretty busy. So, but that and music, I've been doing a lot of singing projects and, writing a lot of music. So those two things, the reality is I can be as busy as I want to be. The call center kind of runs itself, and just kind of trying to figure it out, so.
Well, and you're busy with travel, going to all these places as well, correct?
Yeah, I didn't travel as much during COVID. I tried to stay, in a few different places really. And, but I just got tired of it. Like I never really believed, I know COVID's real, but I never really had any fear over it. I'm smart. I know people get it everywhere, but I wash my hands a lot and, I'm careful but even then I know I can still get it, but look, I've lived a full life. If I were to get COVID and die tomorrow, it is what it is. I'd rather live than not live, so.
I agree with that.
Yeah. So, I just got tired of kind of being in one place and, the world's a beautiful place and there's beautiful people all over it. So I prefer to meet them belly to belly than Zoom calls. I just,
I like that.
So, yeah.
And so the company that you have now, so if there's an author, let's say, like I said, I have a new book that just came out. I have an old one that I might want to replenish. And I can get a hold of you,
Yeah,
or
I mean,
is there a specific, how does this work?
I'm Craig Handley everywhere, so people can find me on Facebook, Instagram. I mean, I have all the Craig Handleys pretty much as far as domains go.
But they
And then,
sorry,
what's
my
that?
quick question was, but they don't need to be like, they can just be like an average Joe like me, right? Or an average
Of course.
Lorianne.
Yeah, see, the thing was, when I tried to promote myself, and I'm just an average Joe, I had someone who was going to take all of my existing content and they were going to edit it and post it. But just to do the editing, they wanted like 15 grand, and then they wanted $5,000 a month. And then for someone to do the one-on-one reach outs through LinkedIn was 3,000, right? To 5,000 just for the LinkedIn. And then there was another person that would do Instagram for 5,000. And when I looked at it, it was like 20,000 a month for me to promote. And I'm like, this is stupid. So I built it myself, and I built it in Mexico because I have a lot of Mexico employees. So they all speak perfect English and have lived in the US. And I can do social media work for people. I've got different packages, but I can do it for around $1,800 a month. I do book launches for $4,000 a month because there's a lot of content creation on top of it. So basically it's about $1,000 a week. But when you do the math, if I'm selling in a month's time, anything, if I'm selling 2,000 books, you do make some royalties on a book. And so I'm like, I'm making people money. It's a positive for them, and I'm helping them with their influencer status and their influence ratings. I end up getting them interviews and podcasts, and it's just a byproduct of talking to people. And so one of the women we were doing this for ended up on Good Morning America. I've gotten a lot of people on Instagram Lives with hundreds of followers, and so that's always good. So there's a lot of that going on, and so anybody can do it. And we work with people who have books coming out in 6 months and people who have books coming out in 3 days.
Nice.
Wow.
The people, what works the best is that if somebody has a following, like an active following, and they're active in their Instagram and Facebook, well, those are the ones that convert the best. We have one guy who bought all his followers, and he made 2 bestsellers lists on Amazon, and he was really happy. But if he would have been more, more active, we probably would have sold a lot more books. But that's why we have a 12-week, for example. We have a 12-week because we can take 8 weeks and just create that synergistic, back and forth. And then for the next 4 weeks, we can do a hard push and sell a lot of books. So we can create that passive engagement before we create the active engagement. But we do that with everything. The books is like a big one, but we do product launches and product sales. If we put a good piece of content out and people like it, we actually use sales agents that reach out one-on-one and say, hey, thanks for liking our content. Why don't you save 20% in the next 72 hours with this code?
Wow. That's pretty
Yeah,
great.
we've
Great
sold a lot of product.
opportunity. Yeah.
Yeah, and then of course our call center has, we take a lot of customer service, a lot of sales, and a ton of lead gen, and we do a great job for people. We have pricing, that is less than what U.S. prices are, and we perform better than most U.S. call centers. So we're in a really good niche on the call center side too.
Fantastic.
One, you said you do a lot of jingles. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, a friend of mine has a dog food, and it's a sprinkle that you add to any dog food, and it actually makes it healthy. And he sells this powder, and he's doing a lot of affiliate marketing and a lot of buying media. And so I wrote this little jingle. It's a 1-minute jingle, and I put puppies, of course, in it, and people loving their dogs. So everybody wants to watch it. And it's just like, I wrote a rap to it. So it goes, do you love your dog, your furry best friend? Are you committed to loving him until the very end? You give your dog the best life, filled with many joys, giving him the best treats and oh so many toys. And then it just tells the story. No matter what food you're buying, sometimes the label's lying or misleading, at least, should be more vitamins in the feast, the things your pet needs to live healthy, better days. And so your dog can always be around. And I forgot the rhyme there, but but that's the idea. So in a minute's time, I say, do you love your dog? Sometimes what's on packages is misleading. And then I go into the benefits of the product, how it's got 40 vitamins and minerals created by a vet. And then the name of the product is NutriThrive. And, and so in under a minute, I share the story of how you can basically buy a powder that you could sprinkle on the cheapest dog food in the world and make your dog food healthy and keep your dog alive longer. And so that's kind of the process of finding, everything's about need. So what you have to cover in a jingle, whether it's 30 seconds or a minute, is you've got to cover the need and you've got to present feature, function, and primary benefits. If you can do that, you can write jingles.
That's fun.
That's interesting. I mean, that's interesting.
It's very interesting. I did another one with, I interviewed my friend Dave Asprey, who's with Bulletproof Coffee.
Oh,
and and I did a jingle for him. And it was basically this executive wraps concept. It was, well, Dave, what's your story? What makes you so rad? Because Bulletproof seems like a quick fix fad. I want to be healthy. Well, I want to be lean. I want to be a lean, mean fighting machine. And it goes into this little Dave. I got Dave to rap. Now he's terrible, but it makes real authenticity. He's like, I'm bulletproof, not the man of steel, just an average man who's keeping it real. And I'm like, it's just a cool little thing, and people loved it. And that's where you use traffic, and you say, hey, thanks for liking the video. Why don't you save some money at bulletproof.com? And you create engagement and you create revenue.
Wow.
That's cool.
So can you tell us how people can reach out to you? How they can get a hold of you?
Other than his website, is there anywhere, do you have to reach your book, to purchase your book? Is it on your website as well?
My book is on Amazon. You can get my book on Amazon. Okay. And as far as people reaching me, I mean, they can email me at craig@socialclose.com, craig@listentrust.com. They can call me on my cell, 207-252-5779. They can text me. On Instagram, I'm Craig Handley. They could just send me a message. I'm pretty easy. I'm really easy to find.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Sounds like it. Did you have anything, Lorianne?
Hey, that's just wonderful. I'm just so pleased to have met you, Craig, and a lot of really interesting information. I really believe that you can help a lot of people out there too, particularly the people that out there with books. And I'm looking forward to watching your comedy, because I love comedy. We actually had, just quickly, but I don't know if you know, that we had the owner of Yuck Yucks Canada. Canada has our comedy club across Canada. It's called Yuck Yucks. They did take a bit of a tough road through the COVID, because he was saying that people like Mark Breslin was saying, people like to be there. And they even tried to do one at a drive-in, a comedy, and they said it's not the same. Yeah. That's what you were saying about, it's tiresome now. It's now time to be, belly to belly is a lot better, particularly in comedy too. So,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So very, very cool. I can't wait for that. That's it.
Well, Craig, it was a pleasure to meet you, and we're glad to have you on the podcast. You got a lot of good information.
Yeah, I hope it's helpful to your listeners. I feel like it wasn't meaning to be like doing a sales pitch to anybody, but we kind of went in that direction. So I hope, that wasn't the intention. I mean, people can do all these things I'm doing themselves.
Yeah.
They don't need me to do it. So hopefully they learn from that and recognize that these are all things that they can do themselves too.
And just as a final note, though, just remember too, and Greg, I want to say that there are some people that don't want to do it. So it's nice to know there's people out there that can do it for them, instead of them spend a lot of time and a lot of money on something that they're, whether they're interested or not, or able to do it or not. It's just like, it's good to have that service there for sure. So thank you very much.
Yeah, well, that was my goal, was to basically, instead of having people spend 20 grand trying to do it, was to find a way to help as many people as possible at a price that makes sense, that can actually add. Look, if I sell 4,000 books and they make $16,000 and they paid me $4,000, well, they have $12,000 they can put towards media or towards other things that will help them sell their book. I wanted to be the one piece that is always profitable for people in reaching the bestseller lists. So that was kind of the goal. I mean, we do good work for people, but also I wanted it to be profitable and low cost. I don't think anybody can match the pricing that I'm giving to people out here, and I'm good at it because I built a call center with almost 1,000 people, and so I'm good with smaller margins. A lot of people that are individuals, they're not used to building companies, and they do it themselves, and they have to have huge margins. So they charge $15,000 for a book launch or $20,000 for a book launch, and they only have, maybe 12 customers a year. But I'm happy to have 150 customers a year. So
Perfect.
maybe it's a lot more work for me to make the same money they make, but I'm helping more people, and for me that lives better with my values and with who I am. So.
Great.
Lovely. Perfect saying. I love that. Thank you.
All right, Craig. Well, thanks for sharing your time with us. We appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me on. I love being on podcasts.
All right. Well, great. Well, thank you very much.
All right.
Take care. Thank you so much. Okay,
All right.
bye.